Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Lockbox Lunatics. I'm Steve Lambert up here in Kennewick, Washington, with my bold co-host Chad Kamp down in Arizona. How you doing today, Chad?
Good morning, Steve. I'm doing well. How's life up there?
I can't complain. We're living in wine country, and the wine's pretty darn good,
All
so
right.
no
Well,
complaints
thank you for
there.
sending some of your weather down here. We got a little bit of rain this morning.
Hey,
So we're glad to see that. So I'm especially happy and excited today of our special guest, Melissa Meza from San Diego. Welcome, Melissa.
Thank you for having me.
No, thank you so much for coming on board with us. Why don't you go ahead and share a little bit of your background? I know you've got a phenomenal background, and I don't want to steal your thunder per se, so I'll let you go
Not
ahead and
a
present it.
not a problem. Yeah, I've been in the mortgage real estate industry, real estate in general, for about 23 years now. Started in the mortgage industry. I worked on the back end, secondary market, ran our warehouse lines, packaged up loans, and sold them on the secondary market. Obviously, we had a mortgage crash that happened. So I took my licenses. I got certified by the state. I'd go in as an expert witness and actually audit mortgage and real estate transactions and testify in court. From there, I met an investor, so I jumped over and started learning everything about real estate investments from sub to fix and flip development. I assisted in building a eco hotel in Panama. We had a vast portfolio of rentals that were in Hawaii, California, Arizona, as well as got my teeth cut from everything from cold calling and door knocking there in the first few years, to really learn the insides and outs of real estate and investments. From there, I got the opportunity to go work for a company called Aslan Residential out of Irvine. We started with very few employees, 17 million in internal capital. We were able to raise that all the way up to a $500 million institutional fix and flip fund. So I ran acquisitions and oversaw everything there as their director. Um, since then, I've split off. I've started my own companies. In my tenure throughout all of real estate, I've flipped over 5,000 properties. I'm currently the CEO of Care Property Advisors. I'm the co-founder of Rise Up Residential, which is a 501c3 nonprofit developer of affordable housing here in San Diego. And I'm also the CEO of Elevator Mortgage.
Okay, so what you're telling me is you're not a novice in real estate.
I'm a one-trick pony. All I know is real estate. Ask me to do anything else, and you're not going to get an intelligent answer.
I love it. That's an incredible background. That's
It
that's an
is
impressive
phenomenal.
resume. You should be. You've got to be super proud of what. I mean, when you look back at that, do you ever just sit there and go, "Wow"?
Yeah, no, I do. It almost like, as life goes on and stuff, especially with what we do, every day is so busy, challenging, something different. As I look back on my career, it almost just seems like now I'm rattling off bullet points. Like I don't really remember what it felt like to be in those trenches and learn and kind of go through that. I can reiterate the stories, but I feel so far detached because I've been doing this for so long. It's literally just rattling stuff, off a paper or off my resume. So yes, but it's been a very long and very fruitful career, and it's had its ups and downs. I've been flush, I've been bust. So I mean, that's just the life of real estate.
Kind of the typical ride in our industry, right? But the fun
Yeah.
part about it, what I love about it is as you're reading these off all the various things you've been involved in and you've had a chance to impact so many people's lives. I mean, let's face it, with numbers like that, you've impacted thousands of people's lives in a positive manner, which is awesome. That's one of the cool things about what we do, right? Is that it's not just the rote every day. You had this career and you've ridden all these ups and downs and seen all these different parts and sides of the industry, everything from the lending side to the flip side and all that. It's pretty cool that you've been able to have such a holistic approach to it. And that's why we're super excited to have you on today, is because of that holistic background and approach. Because right now we're in a marketplace that's in so much flux. Buyers and sellers are both, they're kind of running for the hills because they're not sure what to do. People are like, do I sell? Do I not sell? What do I do within the industry? Agents are wondering what the heck is going on? How do we work with our clients right now? And so I love the fact that you've seen, these highs and these lows, and you've ridden them out and you've figured out ways to come out on the other side in a really successful position. And so, kind of tying into what we're going to go for today is a little bit of our conversation on that is the challenges in the current market. So, kind of from your perspective right now on the residential side of the market, because that's most of the folks that are tuning in here and most of our agents that are actually checking out the show are on the residential side. What do you see as maybe if you had to take your top two or three challenges right now within the marketplace with what's coming down the pike and what's been happening? What do you think those are going to be?
For me personally, obviously, I'm in San Diego, California. So we kind of have a sub market. Like it doesn't act or follow most of the other large cities. Whether or not that will be, how it is in perpetuity, I don't know, but our cost of living here specifically has reached a level of unaffordability. So that is a big, big problem for the buyer pool. Our inventory is through the roof. We have more inventory right now than we did during the crash in 2008. So we have sellers that have unreasonable expectations. They still think it's 2021. And then you have buyers, investors, and everybody else that, sees the market trend and where it's going. So you're anticipating depreciation instead of appreciation. And the sellers don't necessarily get that. So I feel like buyers and investors think it's, 2018 and sellers think it's 2021.
Yeah, it's really interesting, right? Because there's such a big chasm that, and they're each standing there and they're waiting for each one to build the bridge, right? To say like, hey, let's like we got to come together somewhere here in the middle. And I think a lot of it has to do with, like you said, sellers went through this crazy time frame, with post-COVID there, latter part of COVID, where the market
Oh
was
yeah.
nuts. And all of a sudden, I have an asset that's appreciated, 36, 40, 50, 60%, kind of artificially so, right? But it set that baseline expectation that now my house is automatically a million or a 1.5 million, where realistically it's maybe 800 or 900, right? But they're stuck on that number, and
Right.
so we see a lot of people trying to figure that out. In your experience level, when you've come into situations like this where both sides are fairly far apart, what are some ideas that you've employed, or maybe some things that you've looked at, tactics or strategies even, to help kind of we'll focus on the selling side a little bit. How,
Okay.
on sellers, what would you say to them, or what are some things that you've done in the past to get them to maybe have a more realistic understanding of what the marketplace is doing?
Of course. Yeah, when we are direct to seller and we're giving cash offers and acquiring properties that way, typically what we're looking for is distressed properties. So although they do still kind of come with unrealistic expectations, the need to sell and having to sell is there. So it kind of helps the process in the sense that even if they call multiple investors, we're still kind of coming in relatively the same on what our cash offers are going to be, and they have to sell. Now, deals on the MLS through agents, those are the ones we find more challenging. The bulk of what I've done for the better part of God, since about 2015 has been building out my direct to agent relationship. So, I take I call a preferred investor position where I get to go in, I sit in their sales meetings, I help them with cash offers, I teach them, I train them, I show them how we look at things and kind of level them up on the agent side. So most of my business since 2015 has come from agents. Whereas now, they're listing at 1.3 and we're offering like a million or 1.1. So we are pretty far apart. Part of that is obviously educating the agents and the sellers, providing comps, kind of going through the market and giving data. What I found right now is basically the only thing that's working is just time. You got to wait for those properties to come down and for the sellers to become a little bit more realistic. But we're seeing right now $200,000-300,000 price reductions on some properties here. So, the market is adjusting. It's leveling out.
Yeah, it's extremely important for agents that we educate ourselves what the role those cash offers are and those investors. Because realistically, you're not going to get an investor that's going to come in and buy a property at an optimum price because there's no meat on the bones per se, right?
Right.
So agents need to understand, hey, if an investor is going to put money in, they're going to have some sort of return on that for their time that's involved. And that
Right.
is one of the more difficult conversations that we have to have with sellers. And I think that's phenomenal that you step into other offices and help educate. And I think that's wise on your part because the more that you can strengthen those relationships, whenever an opportunity does present itself, you're able to go straight to that agent and say, here's our offer. And if you've
Right.
been investing time in that agent's going to go to that seller and say, hey, look, I know we've got 5 offers. I know that they're all about the same price point. But
Right.
Melissa's offer here, I know her. I trust her. I doubt she's going to back out in the first
Right.
few days. That's one of the issues that I see that plagues the industry from that is they'll come in. I just got an offer last night on a house. They came in, they don't want to submit any earnest deposit on the property until
Okay.
we get outside the inspection period. They're saying we're buying it as is, but we still want the repair request phase. And I get that protection, but from a seller's perspective, is like, why don't they want to put earnest money down, right? And so I think
That would give me pause. That would give me a lot of pause.
right. But I think that's important that you're reaching out into the industry to help educate agents. Hey, look, this is kind of normal. This is not normal. And so when you start building that relationship and you submit an offer on their behalf, they have that comfort level that, hey, look, Melissa's going to be a straight shooter. She's going to go
Right.
ahead and deal with this, right? And so from that perspective, I mean, I applaud you for that because I think that's a brilliant strategy.
It's so important, especially in this era where you have so many people that are wholesaling and assigning transactions. So I don't know what it's like in your guys' market, but in ours, they're offering like, say I'm coming in at 1-1, they're offering that 1-3 number, entirely expecting to retrade and renegotiate while they're in escrow. I don't believe in that. My word is my honor. I can get out within 24 hours. I can do our inspections. Most of the time I go non-contingent. And then I educate the agents on, how to cut down those contingencies or to, ask for, full contingency removal up front. Why it's so important to provide, the title report and the disclosures up front so those contingencies don't remain. It's not hard for an agent to get those, to provide those on a cash sale. Require them to come in and do an inspection and stand by their numbers. Not all agents are savvy enough to recognize or realize that, or put in a clause that stops them from wholesaling or assigning. But it's awful when I see a property close from an agent that I thought I had a relationship with because somebody came in 200,000 higher, and it ends up closing 20,000 lower than what I would have offered because the seller is just at their end of the rope. And I'm sorry, but that's not the way I conduct business. I don't think it's ethical, nor great for our industry.
Well, I loved you brought up a couple really key points because what we see a lot, and Chad's seen this as well, he's mentioned that, is the ability to pull through, right? We talked about being able, can somebody get a deal to the finish line?
Right.
That's so important because we see so many deals that fall apart because somebody does this or somebody does that. And I love the fact that you're doing your due diligence up front. You're getting it knocked out of the way. You're saying, hey, I'm not hurting your time on market. Heck, the agent, if they're dragging their feet, might not even get it from active to pending status by the time you're even done, right? It's going that fast. And I think
Yeah.
that's something that's really key to think of. And the fact is that carrying costs, people don't think about that easier. Other times as well, is like, what's it costing you per month to carry this? If we wait 6 months, we might be out another 40K out of our pocket. So why don't we offer that price today? So when you're coming in with these prices, it sounds like you're basically kind of ahead of where the market's actually shifting to. You just already are there. And I think you're kind of helping people shortcut that a little bit to say, hey, this is really where the market's at right now. And I love the fact that you're offering a reasonable price to them because you, like you said, we see a lot of wholesalers that do. They move the goalposts, right? In the
Yeah.
middle of the transaction. And the person sometimes is just so emotionally drained at that point that they end up just going for it because they just want to get the deal done because they're already moving
Exactly.
on to that next chapter in their life,
Exactly. And I mean, yeah, it hurts. It hurts my soul. Like that just is not the way I think business should be conducted. I think it's slimy. And not to say all wholesalers do that. I do buy off wholesalers. They serve a place in the market for sure. It's just the unethical ones that know damn well going into that escrow, they will not close at that price. And I'm not really here for that. And then as far as you had touched on, days or dollars and hold costs and things like that. I operate on an annualized return. So for me, days are literally dollars. I'm calculating what our hold time is going to be down to the day. My average hold time used to be 117 days from beginning to end for most of my flips. Now I have properties that are sitting on the market for 60 days. So everything that I bought back a little bit earlier in the spring, I'm taking kind of losses or breaking even on right now. It's not a market that I anticipated going into. And, real estate, it's an investment. There is an inherent risk to it. I think it performs better and is a safer investment than stock market or something like that. Your value is never going to go to zero. Um, However, it's right now, I think some of my best deals are the ones I'm not buying.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think that's so important that folks, recognize, that with high risk, the high reward, the
Right.
greater reward, but also the greater risk. And,
Right.
a lot of times the sellers, they don't understand that great risk that you're taking because yes, the spring, in the springtime, I was expecting, the economy to go one way, I was expecting home
We
prices to go
all
one
were.
way.
I thought
Yeah.
rates would be down lower. I thought the economy would be doing better. And it's exactly the opposite of what I forecasted and anticipated.
Yeah. And so having said that, you're taking it in the shorts. You're coming up with potentially losses that you're facing or not having as great a return on your investment.
Right.
And so that's one thing that we need to be able to convey to owners is that risk that we're taking. Now, whenever, if we remember the market prior to the crash, prior to the crash, there was really no risk. You could buy a house today, sell it tomorrow, you
Right.
know, and
Exactly.
yeah, and especially with the new builds, I love that opportunity. You get a new build under contract, it's a 6 to 8 month build time. And I had a lot of investors make a lot of money when new builds were allowing investors to come in on the front
Yeah.
end. So by the time the build time was over, there was no cost involved. It was
E-
whatever their earnest bought,
Exactly.
right?
And
So
it's a brilliant strategy if you have that opportunity. We had a development here. I didn't get in on it. I wish I would have in hindsight, but same thing. It took about a year. It took them forever to build from the time that they, released phase one and people jumped in. But there were, it was all over the news. There were sellers that had it under contract, like sellers, buyers, not investors, regular everyday buyers. And they had, this 2 bedroom, 2 bath, and we're close to the water. So they had it for like 900,000. They were just selling them for 1.5 million or 1.4 million. They made $500,000 as a non-investor just trying to move into this and then realized this is a no-brainer. Let's turn around and sell these to people that want to buy. Um, it's a brilliant strategy if you can find that good development or something that's coming where everybody's going to be there. Phase one, absolute best to get into.
Yeah, that was awesome. The market was a little bit crazy. So it's interesting. So hearing you kind of talk through where you've been now, and you've been through a lot of different marketplaces, what are some of the kind of the key pivots that you're kind of making right now as you kind of adjust to this marketplace? As you said, that none of us really saw coming. This was not the expectation.
Right.
And I think we're all kind of like happy feet right now, trying to make our dance, right? Like what are we doing? So I
Yeah.
guess I would say, what are some of the not only the pivots that you're making, but for agents that you work with or agents that you see, what are some of the positive pivots and maybe some of the negative pivots that they're making where you're like, oh gosh, maybe these are some pitfalls we could avoid as well?
Yeah, here in San Diego, the big one is everybody wants to talk about ADUs and ADU development. How do we add more units to a single family residence? So that's kind of been the breakout strategy we've seen here over the last, let's call it, 5 years. We've had legislation change everything from city, county to state to allow higher density to help with our housing crisis. Um, so that comes with good and bad. One, I think right now it is not necessarily, speed as far as flips go, which it has been historically for the better part of the last 15 years. The quicker you can get in and out, again, days or dollars. We were in an appreciating market where we had the momentum, we had low inventory, high buyers. It was a seller market. Now it's not speed, it's going to be strategy. So you have to take a look at these properties. If it dips more than you anticipate, can you turn around and refinance that and make it a long-term rental so you're not taking a bloodbath? Can you add ADUs and do a high, development value add opportunity to increase the value of that property? Obviously, much longer hold, permitting, construction, all of that. Sometimes those plays are going to yield by far the most money. So now I don't think it's speed, it's going to be strategy. But on the flip side of that, every agent here in San Diego, they're like, oh, it's a 15,000 square foot lot. ADU opportunity, ADU opportunity. No, it's not. It's on septic. You have setbacks. The lot size isn't right. Like, just because it's a larger lot does not mean it's a value add opportunity. So some of these agents are doing their buyers, especially end buyers, a huge disservice by pretending like they know what they're doing. When even somebody like me that knows how to read code, that does development, I still send it to my architect for a feasibility study before I know that I'm going to purchase that. So I wish agents would stop doing that because I've had a couple people that will call us out. We have the construction company, we do building as well. And we're like, no, it's you can't. They're like, but the agent said we can add 4 units. I'm sorry, the agent is an architect and doesn't work for the city.
Right? That's why agents need to one. I'm a big believer of surrounding myself with experts, right? Like being having the ability to talk to you today and everything else. You bet you're in my phone, right? I'm gonna call you for certain things down in Southern California and say, hey, like we have to surround ourselves and be willing to say, I don't have the answer, but let me find it for you, right? And agents, I think,
Exactly.
are sometimes coming from a place of scarcity. They so don't want to lose the deal that they'll just say whatever, and they're giving bad advice, right?
Yeah.
It's funny you say that though. ADUs are kind of like the hot thing, right? They're like I was laughing when you said that because up here that was the big thing. They changed our zoning here, 0 lot lines. We could do all this stuff. Everybody can crank an ADU on there, and I'm like, it's not that easy. It's not just that, folks, right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of funny, and it's interesting because that kind of became our, like the way to, value add, right? I
Yeah.
love that to the property. Well, this property, let's not make it more than what it is. And so
Right. Exactly. Yeah. It's like a 2 bedroom, 1 bath, but it has opportunity for ADUs. No, it doesn't. And no, that doesn't increase the value. I mean, we have certain zoning where, yes, we can come in and throw, 30 units, 3 stories high. That land is worth more. It has commercial zoning. It allows for what we need to build. Your average single family residence, unless it's in a very specific area, you need more due diligence than that.
here, I'll ask you this is my 10-second answer for you. I'm gonna put you on the hot seat. California Coastal Commission, thumbs up, thumbs down, or mid or tread water? Yeah, I knew it.
I will not buy or renovate anything unless it is a straight cosmetic interior renovation within 2 miles of the coast. I hate Coastal Commission. They are, yeah, they are a group of individuals that have way too much time on their hands.
I just had to. I had to ask folks. Folks in California will understand this. For those of you that are not down in California, and I'm not in California, but I'm very familiar with California Coastal Commission. I am licensed in California. Is that the California Coastal Commission makes things interesting, and we'll just leave it at that.
Yeah. Oh no. And they drag it out. And it's, I mean, because you've already got to go through city, you've got to get it approved there. And then Coastal Commission has to. So yeah, I mean, unless you've budgeted at least a 3 year hold time, or if you're, an end user that's going to live in it and then, redevelop it or add on to it. Yeah, Coastal Commission is the bane of most people's existence.
Oh, I bet. So let me ask you this. So we're coming near to the end of our time, but we're on the cusp of Halloween.
Yes.
So with that theme in mind, what is one of your scariest fix and flips?
Oh,
Well, define scary. I've got stories for days. Like the
All right.
worst one that has happened, or actual like terrifying, scary dead bodies.
Terrifying dead bodies.
Terrifying dead bodies. All right, here you go. So I had a property. It was here in Vista, California. It was on a large lot. Again, this one was on septic. It was actually Bing Crosby's original house that was then like moved by truck to this lot. So woman owned it for years. She passed away. The daughter inherited it. The daughter was a drug user, to put it lightly. So she moved a bunch of druggies into the house, and that's what they would do, drugs. So obviously there was a small mortgage on it. So we went and offered to buy it. We went back for our final walkthrough and to take some measurements and stuff. And the house normally just smelled pretty bad. So I carried my pre-closure box, bug and flea spray. It's got boots for my feet. It's got gloves, and it's got a breathing mask. Inside the breathing mask, I put a little swipe of Vicks Vapor Rub. Anything but Vicks when you go to a property. So I still didn't pick up how bad it was. So we're walking through, and there's a knock on the door. And so the woman goes, "Excuse me." So she goes to answer it. And mind you, there's mattresses and people on the floors, and it's just gross. It's a foreclosure fixer. So the woman that comes is a social caseworker nurse, because she hasn't had contact with somebody that's under what is called not convalescent care, conservatorship with the city. So they look after her. The goes, "Well, I haven't seen her in a while. You can go check her room." The second they open the doors, then you can see that she'd been in there for a couple days. She owed, and nobody checked on her. And I don't know if you've ever seen a dead body, especially one that's decaying and decomposing. It is absolutely awful.
I
no. First I thought is I have some dead cats,
Oh, whoa, we had this one was in Orange County. She probably had 35 refrigerators in her garage. That's all it was there. Cats in the freezers.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, wow.
What is the purpose of that? What is the purpose of that?
I have a Halloween story that I can share really quick with you guys.
Yeah, go ahead. I
It's a
love
quick, funny
stories,
one. Did you
especially
know?
horror
So
stories.
up in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho,
Okay.
there's actually a broker realtor up there, and his name is Jeffrey Dahmer, and it's spelled exactly that same way.
Oh
God,
no.
yeah, right. I
Is
mean,
he
can you
like
imagine the
much,
market?
much older, or like did the mom just do him dirty?
No, he's a little bit older. So, and the thing is that being kind of slightly twisted in my mindset sometimes, I have a pretty flexible sense of humor, is that I would just love to market that. He's so straight-laced and everything. I mean, I would be the worst with market, but I would just go to town with the marketing on that. But
I'll kill your listing.
yeah, exactly, right, right. We're slashing prices, and like I know where the
Love
bodies
it.
are buried and all that. Yeah, I would be so bad, but he's been super good about it. But anyways, look him up sometime. Super nice.
I
That's
will.
all I got.
That's
That's all I
pretty
got,
funny.
man. I don't know.
That's pretty funny.
All right. Well, Melissa, we thank you for spending some time with us and shedding some light on your past and some things to look out for from investors and realtor relations. Definitely gives us some food for thought for as a brokerage of what I can do and bring some investors into the office to kind of help educate clients. So I appreciate that bit of information. But thank you for watching, our viewers. Please, if you would like, share and comment. If you have any suggestions on future topics, please drop those in the comment section below. Otherwise, we'll catch you next week. And if we don't talk to you before then, have a great Halloween. Take care.
Thank you guys.